Hey guys, it's Otti again. I'm sitting here with the band VAZUM. Hi, first of all.
Hello,
Hi,
hello.
hello.
Hi. We're here because you wrote me that you have a new album out and I didn't know you before. We'll talk about all this later. But maybe first of all, as people might watch that never heard of you and don't know who you are, can you tell your names and your part in your band?
My name is Zach, and I sing and play guitar and do drum programming. And the name of the band is VAZUM.
Yep, my name's Emily and I sing and play bass guitar and sometimes keyboards. Play keyboards sometimes, so.
And one can see it of your style and the optics. It's rather goth, dark music, dark wave, goth rock, some kind of this.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We have coined the term Deathgaze.
Okay.
So it's because we like a combination of dark and shoegaze mixed together. And you know, we can always use another genre in the music scene, right?
Yeah, sure. It's
Just
always like this. Some maybe would call it post-punk, others say shoegaze, goth rock, but we know
Yeah,
this kind of direction. And
yeah.
I really liked what I listened to because this was why I invited you to this interview. I said, okay, that's cool, love it. But before we come to the music as it is, maybe you can tell yourselves, how did you come together? How did the story of Zoom start?
Me and Emily met in 2019 at a club, and we became friends first. And then during the pandemic, we really started writing music, recording together. And since then, we've been playing shows and writing albums.
Mhm. Yeah, we
Maybe
both had similar interests. He had a pentagram shirt on at the club and the long hair and eyeliner. I'm like, oh, do you like black metal? Because I thought he was, a black metal guy. Black metal guy is always, long, straight down the middle. And he's like, no. And then I found out he was a drummer and he was a really good drummer. And so I was like, oh, I like this guy.
great.
Yeah.
And then you said, okay, let's do some music together.
Yes.
Did you know from the beginning where the story should go, where the style should go, or did you try out something?
I think I had ideas and I was kind of subtle with them. And I started playing some of my ideas and Zach really liked it. And we just kind of used that as a stepping stone and then progressed together. Like we play off of each other really well. And it doesn't take much effort. So it just kind of naturally flows without a lot of discussion about how we want it to sound. It just sounds how it sounds, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's like being organic. It's an organic way. Not too much
Right.
head. It's more like heart and stomach, maybe. I would
Yes,
see it like
yeah,
this. Good.
exactly.
And which bands did you listen to before? What have been your influences, your heroes?
We have a lot of, we share a lot of influences. So my influences are mostly 90s rock, like Smashing Pumpkins is a major influence. And then later on, I got into more 80s music like Bauhaus and Love and Rockets. But that's kind of where me and Emily kind of share a lot, is with the late 80s, early 90s alternative bands. And then she showed me a lot of music too, like black metal. I hadn't really checked it out. So I got into some of those bands and more industrial, like Skinny Puppy.
And Laibach and different bands. Like to me, like the OG industrial band will always be Laibach. Just because they've been around forever, like doing what they're doing, and they're always doing something strange. So yeah. he liked them a lot too. So
I know what you mean. Laibach is kind of unique in the scene as well. They have their totally own style and their totally own way. And yeah, it's cool. Published some pictures of them a few weeks ago. A friend of mine made.
Cool.
okay,
Nice.
okay.
Very
Yeah, I
funny.
didn't listen to them for how long, how many years, and I didn't even know the singer's name because I don't even think they just everything was Laibach. And then if his name's Milan Frost, and I was like, oh my God, I know his name. It was really exciting.
Did you ever see them live?
I've seen them 3 times.
Ah,
Yeah.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
talk about. I think we didn't tell the people outside that you are from. I'm from Germany, and you are from the US, from Detroit, as far as I
Yes.
know. Yeah. So there's a big difference between how we grew up with music, maybe, and stuff. But it's also we have the same influences, the same hero band. So this is funny. But maybe we can go now to how it developed with your band before we come to Detroit, maybe later on. But you said it started in the pandemic. The pandemic was where you really grew together.
Yes.
So what have been the advantages and disadvantages, sorry, of the situation, of the pandemic situation for your music?
It was really good for us actually, because we had so much time on our hands that we didn't have before. And before the pandemic, I was playing drums in a handful of bands, and that all stopped. And then that really made me focus on what we're doing.
And I always worked full-time, and maintaining a household and being a single mom. I put everything into my other business, which was a online retailer for like gothic jewelry and such. So I didn't have a lot of time for music, and I had so many ideas, but it's very music is so time consuming. I don't think people understand that. And so even though on some things it was a scary time and sad, I think I know for me, and it was the first time I'd ever not have to work since I was a child in like summer vacation. So it was it was like, oh my gosh. And so we just laser focused on that.
Yeah. Funny thing, this is why I look behind, because I'm an online retailer as well, not only for goth stuff, more for second-hand fantasy stuff and such things, but there's a connection as well, like selling stuff online. Yeah,
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
And I have some gothic clothing and jewelry moving behind me. But more
Nice.
second-hand mostly.
Okay,
This was my
okay,
way.
that's good.
Funny. And but come back to your music. I'm not sure about releases. You have a new album. We will talk about this a little bit deeper afterwards, but maybe you can tell me which releases have been before, because have seen some V album, like V
Yeah.
minus,
Lots of
or is
Vs.
it an album? What have been your releases so far till now?
Well, in 2020, we did release 2 albums, Vampire Villa and Rated V. And then after that, we did V plus, or V positive. It was supposed to be like a blood type. And then after that, we did unrated V, which was an electronic version of rated V.
Mhm.
And then after that, we did V negative, which was kind of a culmination of a lot of the previous songs just re-recorded. And then after that was Western Violence.
I see. Because I've looked at your website and at your Bandcamp, and Bandcamp always brought me to Western Violence. And on
Yeah.
the website, it was a little bit confusing which was an album and which was single.
We usually link it to whatever is the most recent and current release. So that would be why if you were on Bandcamp or scrolled, you probably would be able to see it if you click on the merch Is
Yeah,
that, is that
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, if you click on the merch thing, you can see it then.
Cool. So now I'm a little bit more clear what happened before. And Western Violence is out since, I think, May, June? June? Was it May or June?
Was what?
June.
Oh, June,
Yeah.
yeah.
And this is your current album. So maybe you can tell me, what did you make difference compared to the other albums and the other stuff?
We've developed our tech over the last 4 years because we do all the recording and mixing and production ourselves. So with each album, we're doing different things with the equipment we have. And Western Violence is probably the best result of our equipment and how we're using it. So the album before Western Violence, which was V Negative, was kind of like getting like a practice run almost. Because when we started recording Western Violence, we knew right away what we were gonna do.
Yeah, we had, you know, more practice with the equipment and recording and, you know, getting good signals and knowing how to use the rack effects. And we have a mix of digital and analog, you know, tools that we use, recording equipment that we use. So we were able to kind of dial that in more. And it wasn't as much of a struggle and to get a good sound, and then just have more technical control of the sound. So that we feel like we're pretty proud of the production value that we were able to get on that, you know, the engineering from that standpoint.
Yeah, we've had people compliment the production.
Yeah.
Handful of people have said they like the production.
And yeah, that's probably the biggest difference. In terms of the song style, I feel like it's probably similar, probably still similar song style with just more technical prowess.
Regarding production, I have to can say it as well. It was a really cool and professional production. This is, I think this is important to your style to have this deep sound, and you have it. It's one of the aspects what I loved about the album. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of people, you know, produce themselves, and I think that's the way to go. In the modern era, that's definitely the way to do it.
Yeah, but you have to have a hand for it, a feeling for it, and I think you have a feeling. This is what makes a difference, maybe, between some other bands and bands like yours, for example. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes, I mean, there's so many different tools available. You just have to kind of develop your own thing with it, you know, and sometimes it takes a long time for that to happen. It took us a handful of albums. And
it's overwhelming, you know, all the choice, you have all of the choices, and you just have to, you know, you kind of have to tunnel vision yourself. You have to kind of tunnel vision yourself. You're like, oh, but we could do this and that. And you're just like, no, it's done. You have to just stop yourself and be like, no, it's good. Just leave it alone.
Yeah, that is a good way to do it. It's important to not be too experimental, say it like this.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And regarding lyrics, for example, do you both write lyrics, or is it part of one of you? How do you do this?
Take turns. If whoever is will help each other out, but generally whoever is the lead singer on that song probably did the bulk of the lyrics for that song. And then vice, you know, so, you know, if I'm the lead singer on a song, I probably did that with Zach's input, and then vice versa. If he's singing lead, then he probably did most of it. And then, hey, what do you think? You know, a little bit of a combination there. That's how you work it.
And this would have been one of my questions, because sometimes you sing both. Sometimes it's one of you, and so this is the way one writes the lyrics, and the one who writes the lyrics mostly sings them. Understood, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can't talk about every song, but maybe can you tell me what are the main topics of Western violence? The main things.
It's pretty literal. It's about Western violence. It's about, it's very it's on the nose. It's about living in America right now. It's scary. It's we got to tour in other countries, and just driving on the street in Europe and knowing if, you know, you accidentally cut someone off in a car, or like you're like someone, you know, you makes you mad, just like, oh, but at least I'm not gonna get shot. You know, my neighborhood in Detroit was pretty bad, and you don't realize how it affects you so much when you hear gunshots every day, and you just like, you're like, oh, that one was kind of close, you know, living that and then expressing that, and just kind of the existential dreads of current modern day living.
That's what I mean. And I think the weapon problem is still one of the big problems in the US. That
Yeah.
almost everyone can have a weapon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say it's a problem.
Yeah. We, you know, sold my house in Detroit, and now we live in a city called Jackson. It's about an hour west. We bought an old church and made it our house and recording studio. Because the shootings were getting so bad that a stray bullet came into my kitchen and exploded glass all over the kitchen, and there was a dent in my refrigerator where the bullet just, so if someone had been standing at my fridge, they would have been shot. And just, you know, that was happening more and more. And then, you know, streets closed down for shootings, and like a lot of drug problems. So it's really stressful.
I think it's totally different from here. Here we have now discussions again about knife abuse because we had some terrorists killing people with a knife. But
yeah,
it's still a difference to live in a country where people are talking about how long can a knife be that you carry, or if someone has a gun. Just
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Impressing for me. For me, it's impressing because I've never been to the US. I only know those stories, but talking to someone who got such clear is, it's hard. I can imagine it's really hard.
It's not a lot of people like to talk about it because it's so politically charged that you worry if you complain about guns, someone's gonna shoot you. Like, so I wasn't nervous with this album because we're a small band, but just the subject matter, just being mad about the gun problems, like showing an emotion about it, makes the people that are pro-gun, like it makes you a target for speaking up about what a problem it is. Yeah. Yeah. And it's, yeah. And it's very, in this era with an election year, and, you know, you worry if my parents are in their 70s and they really wanted to put, you know, their candidate, they're Democratic, so they're voting for Kamala Harris. And they were worried if they put the sign up, maybe it would show violence because a lot of people on the other side are, you know, more extreme. So.
It's hard. And we're really looking at the elections as well, because I think this will be something that changes the whole world. What happens in your country better then?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's very stressful for people. You know, I have family members that aren't on the Democratic side and nobody talks to each other anymore. And that's kind of the situation. And that's kind of the situation we were in with the album getting written too, where
Yes.
you have a lot of that. And we don't shy away from the things that are upsetting. And I'm terrible at being metaphorical. I don't know about Zach, but I'm just so, when I come to writing, like, how do I make this more of a metaphor? Oh, I can't.
Yeah.
What do you mean? But I think maybe this might sound strange, but this might be some reason why like gothic or metal or stuff is growing again in the USA. This dystopian feeling sometimes, this
Yeah.
fear, this anger on other sides.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, you know, especially for the younger generations, they're coming in with all these issues, and so they want music that reflects that, not some bubblegum pop thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of, that's what I don't get.
I mean, a lot of these kids feel like they're fighting for their life just so they can exist how they want to exist. And that there's like this whole force just basically wishes they were dead, you know, so but that always feel like punk was born out of that, you know, 70s,
Yeah.
like the whole Margaret Thatcher, like that Tory and being angry at the Tories, and so I think it's probably similar.
Same with, for example, New York hardcore. I've talked to some bands from New York, hardcore bands like Agnostic Front and Madball, and they grew up, I think, as well as at such violent areas, and this is what makes them different to other punk bands,
Yeah.
for example.
Yeah. New York was very, very difficult and very, very scary then. Yep.
Yeah, but maybe we can turn to the positive side of this.
Yes.
Being like, for example, I know from some European bands, they are playing at the US, traveling, and love it because you have a younger audience, for example, they tell me. In Germany and Europe, you have many people being old, being like me, 40 plus, 40, 50, and not so many young people. And bands like Then Comes Silence, for example, friends of mine, they told me,
Yeah.
there you have people 20, 25. So
Yeah.
you have a feeling that there's also some like unity or stuff growing and some subculture, some clubs coming up. Is it like this?
Yeah, I think the social media has definitely brought in a lot of the younger people. I think it's just harder to actually get them to go to a show. So it seems like if there's a band that has more of a buzz, then they'll get more of that younger crowd. But for bands that don't have that buzz, it's much more difficult.
I would say fans coming out definitely, you know, 20s, especially shows like when we play East Lansing, everyone's definitely under 25. Everybody's dressed. There's a lot of effort put into just like the shows in general, which is really nice. But it's a bit of a show going out can be a bit expensive. So I think people will be more selective, like to pick and choose. So like a weekend show before you're like, okay, it's gonna be on the weekend, it's good. But if there's something going Friday and Saturday, people have to pick. And so a lot of times you'll hear, you know, we'll see tons of bands were like, you know, you guys missed a great show. And then you see the audience and you're just like, it hurts your heart because you're just like, oh, you know, it's hard for, you know, to get people out as much. But I would say I agree that as a whole in the US, you do have more diverse age range and a lot more younger people.
And I don't know, did you play in Europe as VAZUM before?
Yeah.
So when
We
and
played
under which
in-
circumstances? Can you tell me?
We played in Scotland, we played in England, we played in France.
in the spring of this year.
last spring of this year. Yeah. Hi, Katie.
Oh, it's Julie. Say hello.
Hello. Hi, kitty, kitty,
It
kitty.
was it was our first time going over there as a band. So we kind of just did a handful of shows just to kind of get a feel for things.
Yeah.
And we're planning to go back to England in March for about 2 weeks.
We have a festival in Leeds, or is it?
It's another city.
Oh, it's a different city. Sorry. He's the coordinator. I'm the ADHD-inator.
But if you've been in England, for example, you have been driving on the left side. It's also a difference. It's hard to drive car in England, and in Scotland.
Oh yeah, that's next level stress, like being so jet lagged. And we had a Renault Austral Renault, beautiful car with navigation, but it was so advanced compared to I'm just like I had to close my eyes. I couldn't watch.
Yeah, seems like the technology with the vehicles is just more advanced overall in Europe.
Fuel economy was so much better. Even for the hybrid, it was like, I'm sorry, I'm so US, it's all miles. We got like 60 miles a gallon. So, it was really good.
I think there's a big difference, and as well the like the ranges, for example, between cities and stuff is much closer than in the US.
Yeah,
like for example, Germany is like one of your states, maybe.
Yeah,
you have bigger states in Germany.
Yeah, that's why we really liked England, because we could just drive a couple hours between cities.
And do you have plans to come to Germany, for example, or what should happen that you can come to Germany?
We would love to. It's more of the people for booking to contact, and they can be a bit competitive, and who and we don't have any strong connections to someone in Germany. Some people, so that would be the main thing, was if we could book some shows, we would go. But it's getting in contact or contacting and possibly not hearing back because they're unfamiliar with us. So, it's that kind of dynamic you have to work with. Like we would play Spain, we would play Italy, we would love to play the whole area. Zach can is working on getting his dual citizenship. So he's with his family, so he can have EU citizenship, make it even easier for us to tour the EU. So
and I think we come slowly to an end, but I have to ask, because you have a song that's called Nightshade.
Yeah,
My magazine and my YouTube channel is called Nightshade. So please tell me, what's the background of the song? How did it develop? What's the idea?
The background was more about toxic people than about a toxic plant, but
yeah.
But yeah, Nightshade was one of our more death rock sounding songs that we wrote a couple years ago. And yeah, it was inspired by people that kind of take and don't give back and are always taking.
But they're very attractive, so they get away with it, right?
Yeah.
Because plus Nightshade just sounds cool, right?
Yeah, that's totally one of my favorites.
If it's in my garden, I pull it right out. I don't want it growing in my garden.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Cool. So, and maybe we come to an end now, but do you have something free, some greetings, messages, or something you want to tell the people outside?
We hope we come to Europe. Rest of Europe will be in Edinburgh and England February, March of 2025. We'd love to come to Germany. Please, if you know it's overwhelming to listen to new bands maybe, but give new bands a chance maybe you haven't heard of, you know. Everybody has their favorites, maybe, and I'm guilty of this too, because you know, you want like comfort for the ears, you want your try to go outside. Like I have a lot of new favorites that like I love Death Grips. I mean, they've been around a while, and I love the band Sun, and like just get experimental with your ears, broaden your horizons. That's what I'd say. Maybe listen to some something you wouldn't think you'd be into. You never know.
Yeah, there's I think it's really important to be supporting the underground bands, because it's a lot of it is more real than what you're getting from the bands on the major labels.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, the major labels are like a monopoly, so they're purposely trying to silence underground music so that they can keep everything for themselves. So I see it more as almost like it's a struggle, but it's a worthy cause to be doing music that's maybe DIY or underground, and supporting that. It's going against the mainstream.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
the corporate powers that be. Let's face it, there's 3 major record companies, and they have a monopoly over the entire industry.
So free your ears and help the little guy, you know, the small bands that are just like, it's hard to get any notice. You know, we have made great friends with different bands, and, you know, we want to see them do good too. There's so much room for music. It doesn't have to be the same 4 bands that sound like the same 4 bands. Try expanding like different sounds, like listen and stuff. So
Totally what I feel. So thank you for the nice talk. It was great.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate it.
So nice meeting you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Always again. Guys outside, thanks for watching VAZUM, one of the bands you should discover and know, I'd say. And I'd say bye-bye. Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.